everybody. Well, today's the first day that we are allowed to have a two-a-day, and we did have 5 very good acclimatation practices, which I think is a good thing for the players. A couple days in shorts, couple days in shells, couple days, then one day in pads this morning. We kind of go back to the beginning today a little bit, start all over, have 5 days of heavy installation, which really taxes especially the young players in terms of their learning curve, and then go back and try to get more fundamentals, more understanding, start all over with a new installation, put very little new stuff in so that the guys have a chance to sort of learn it again. It's kind of a whole theory of learning. You kind of throw it on the wall and see what sticks, pick up what doesn't stick and throw it up there again and see if it sticks the next time. So that's kind of what we're in the process of doing. But heavy fundamentals out there today. We usually don't practice in pads, 2 practices in a row, especially when we're in two-a-days. So, we'll be in shells tonight. It'll be a little different sort of type of practice. I think the assessment that every player has to make out there is you either get better or you get worse. You really don't stay the same. You're either going up the escalator, all right, or you're probably going down the elevator, one or the other. You're either affecting somebody in a positive way, including yourself, or you're probably bringing people down around you a little bit with your attitude and how you go about what you do. But all those things affect your ability to get better, focus on the process of what you need to do to get better. Young people in general focus too much on the result, where I'm at right now, the expectation of where I want to be, rather than focusing on this is what I need to do to be a complete player at my position. If I could just do that, I know I'm going to get a chance to play. And that's what we're trying to get through, especially the young guys. Some of them take to it a little faster than others, but we have a lot of guys that have made good progress, and we feel good about the progress that we made to this point.
Coach, you said earlier this fall that you'd be comfortable with taking 3 running backs to Atlanta, and you want to take some more for special teams purposes. Do you think by the start of the season, Trent Richardson could be in that group? I
really can't make any predictions about where Trent Richardson's going to be in a month from now. All right, he's getting a lot of reps. He's doing really well. He's got a lot of ability. We're pleased and happy with the progress that he's made, and he's certainly the kind of guy that we would like to develop and have a role on our team this year. But I don't know where he's going to be in a month. He's a young player. He's getting better every day. Roy Upchurch is doing, really well. Mark Ingram's doing really well. Terry Grant's doing really well. So there's a lot of competition there. And just have to wait and see what happens. And if we have 4 guys that can play winning football at that position, we have no problem playing 4 guys. If they all can have a role and something that they can, effectively help our team have success.
Also, could you just talk about Star Jackson's development this fall so far?
Well, there's a lot of competition at the quarterback position. We've been very pleased with where Greg McElroy is. I don't think there's any question about the fact that the other 3 guys are all sort of in the developmental phase. We certainly like what we have seen from, the young players. A.J. has done a really good job and has picked up things quickly. His natural instincts for the position is accurate with the ball, and there's a lot of competition there. Star has done a good job. He makes a lot of plays athletically, and regardless of what happens at the quarterback positions, probably is a guy that we ought to have some kind of role for on this team this year.
There seemed to be a good bit mixing and matching going on Sunday with the offensive line, just guys at different spots, kind of seeing what was, seeing guys at different areas. At what point would you like to get a set 5 to move ahead with continuity heading into the season?
Well, different than how you guys look at it. You guys are only important, and I think it's important in terms of what team a guy's on right now. We feel like it's important that we look at everybody and develop everybody, and guys are going to have to play maybe more multiples of positions, and now's the time that they learn those things. I think that there's probably a couple weeks necessary to develop some continuity in the offensive line. But I think when we start to develop that continuity, it's most important that we know this is the best place for every guy. And we got to give it a chance. And we got to give some people a chance to develop. And at least through the first scrimmage, would we not be worried about who plays where and what? We got guys mixed up all the time, man. We got defensive backs out there playing 52 different positions. But you know what? The better and bigger the resource of information the players have on the team, the more multiples we have when the season comes. Does that make sense? You know, Kareem Jackson plays money. He did it Sunday. He knows how to play because he's been around here. We tell him to learn it. We get him some reps on it. Now, that's not his position for the season. It's the same thing with the offensive line. And we want to make sure that we got the right guys in the right place, and we got to give some young guys a chance to develop. You know, we have James Carpenter has been a very good addition to our offensive line as a junior college player. We have 3 young players that have a chance to be really good players. The offensive line is a developmental position. All right, we got to give those guys a chance to develop. And until we see how they develop, it affects how everything else fits together. So sometimes you got to have poise and patience in making those determinations. Even though I know how important it is for you guys to have a depth chart. It's not really that important for us to have one right now. And we're not keeping anything from you. If we had 5 guys that I got a pretty good idea that 4 guys are going to start. And you would probably name the same 4 guys that I would name. Now, where those guys start and what the best position is depends on how the rest of them develop.
One more thing, you mentioned 5 days of heavy installation. With the freshmen enrolling in early June, how far ahead are they when that happens, as far as just knowing what to do out there?
Well, first of all, we can't work with them. Okay, so we can't teach them. All right, so they probably learn a lot of things in the summertime, like the strength and conditioning program, the flex program. Our players do 7-on-7 on their own in the summer with no coaches on the field, no film to watch, nothing. And our older players try to teach the younger players some of the fundamentals. So they do get exposed to some terminology and what they can learn from the other guys. Now, one thing I will say, when you have good leaders and teachers that are smart guys and have good understanding, they help those guys develop more quickly. You know, Rowe's really good at that. Justin Woodall's really good at that. You know, Harvey's really good at that. Kareem Jackson is really good at that. Mike Johnson's really good at that in the offensive line. So Julio's pretty good at helping young guys at receiver. So that becomes really, really important, the kind of team chemistry you have and the willingness, because the coaches can't do it, and we don't have any coaches out there. So some of the guys really made progress with that. And some of the guys still are, everybody learns a little bit different. And some people have to have everything perfectly in place. You know somebody that keeps their house perfect, right? Perfect. Go look at my desk. It's not perfect. Okay, but to me, it don't matter. I know what I want to do today. I know what I got to do today, and I know what I got to do to get the people to do it. I don't need any neat desk to do that. It's up to my secretary to do that. She can do that. And then what I need to know, she's going to tell me. But there are people that can't function unless everything's perfect. It takes those kind of guys longer because there's so many multiples, not just of what we do, but what they do on offense. And it changes all the time. So if you can't learn conceptually and understand concepts on offense, defense, it doesn't matter. Special teams, it takes you longer to get it because you got to get it all before you get any of it very well. Does that make sense? Everybody learns different. And it's not about how smart you are. It really isn't. So you got to be patient. You got to bring guys along. It's probably good not to yell at them. It's probably not good to get on those kind of guys. But, hey, I pray every Sunday in church that I don't get angry. And I don't want to yell at any of the players. But you guys been around long enough to see enough practices. You know that don't always happen. All right, so I got my stuff I need to work on too. But it does get their attention.
Coach Saban, I had a 2-part question on the tight ends. First of all, you were able to redshirt Michael Williams, Andrew Billingsley, kind of moving them, probably a new position for them. And could you talk about where they are now that they've had a year sort of working with that? And second of all, you had mentioned the other day in the context of running backs about those being special team guys. And do you look at the tight end position in the same way a little bit?
First of all, Michael Williams and Andrew Billingsley, both are guys that are big physical guys that I think are going to be really good blockers. Both guys probably need to develop in the passing game. I think both of them have decent enough ability and good hands, especially Michael. And both guys have made a lot of progress, and I think they're going to be helpful to us this year as well as in the future. In the past, linebacker, tight end, running back, those kinds of guys. Linemen don't do you a lot of good on special teams. All right, but there still are size matchups on special teams, where you need guys that can move and are athletic, but they have some size. And I think those kinds of positions offer that. And that's why it's important. Safeties on defense fall into the same category. Like guys like, Mark Barron, Ty King, Ali Sharif, those guys have all been really good special teams players here. Chris Rogers has been a really good special teams player. Marquise Johnson. Now, you need some speed guys in certain positions, but there's really no place for big, slow guys. All right, so the more guys you have that are athletic, that have some size and have some movement and mobility about them, I think the better depth you have on special teams. Then you don't have to play as many of your starters, on special teams, which I think can, long term maybe have an effect on the wear and tear of your team.
Coach, can you talk about the routine between practices on a two-a-day schedule?
Well, our two-a-day schedule has always been. After the first day I went to practiced at LSU in fall camp, we had 1 2-a-day ever, morning and afternoon. Said that's it. It's too hot. Can't do it that way. So we've been doing morning, afternoon, morning, night, next afternoon. Did it in Miami too. For how many years? 10, something like that. So what the players do is we want players to have the opportunity always to have 2 meals, 2 opportunities to rehydrate between every practice. It has cut down enormously on injuries, IVs, heat problems. Not that we still don't have a few, but there's a lot of statistical information here with the medical staff that supports the way we go about doing it from an injury standpoint as well as how many guys have problems. And we end up having more guys practice more days than most because of that. Now, we do meet. We have 3 blocks, whether we practice once in a day or twice in a day. We have 3 blocks a time that players do something. They got a morning block, an afternoon block, and a night block. So when we practice in the afternoon, we have morning meetings, maybe in lifting. We have night meetings. We have an administrative speaker most of the time, sometimes motivational, sometimes educational, sometimes developmental, sometimes something to do with football, like Rogers Redding was here last night talking about rules changes. So today we had practice in the morning, we got meetings in the afternoon, we got practice again tonight. Tomorrow we got meetings in the morning, practice in the afternoon, meetings at night. So that's basically what we do. And because the mental practice that you can get in making corrections on film and having time to meet and install with players and develop an understanding, and the older guys can take from the meeting to the walkthrough to the field. And that's how we try to teach everything. Try to teach it in a meeting, try to walk through it to gain an understanding, teach the fundamentals in individual, do it in some kind of group work, and put it together in team. That's how we try to teach everything we do. So,
Coach, we got notice the other day that you and your staff are going to participate in the Super 6 high school championships when they're here. Were you in favor of that being on campus, and what does that mean?
Well, I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I definitely was in favor of it being here. No disrespect to where it was before, because I thought it was a great event where it was before, but to go back and forth to the 2 SEC institutions, in the league, first of all, to me, is a great opportunity for the players. I know when I was a high school kid, if I could have played at West Virginia University in an all-star game or a playoff game or whatever, that would have been a tremendous experience for me. So I think it's good for the players. I also think it's good for the exposure to both institutions, for people, for the community, for people to come to the community and see what the University of Alabama is, and when it's at Auburn, what Auburn's like. So I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful for both sides. All right, thank you.